Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Candid Conversation, the return season. And this is episode 5. And it is called The Sacred Ordinary. That's what today's episode is called. Also, different hairstyle. Too hot in England, so I decided to braid my hair because I can't, not with like 90 degrees. I can't be walking around having to manage an afro. It's not going to happen. Okay, so we're talking about the sacred ordinary, and I'm in the cool of my basement again. I've just done a healing, which I do now and again. I don't really do it a lot, but it was really nice, and I'm staying here to record because there's nothing better than being in a cool space when the world is burning upstairs. So we're talking about the sacred ordinary, and what does sacred ordinary mean? For me, the sacred ordinary is what I live every day. I try to um, create the sacred in with the mundane. And if you're into astrology, really, really interesting because my chart in astrology, it's like if you're dealing with psychological astrology, so depth astrology, Liz Green, based upon the concepts of Carl Jung. Um, Really, really good, beautiful psychological astrology. I love it. And in my psychological horoscope, can you hear the noise? This is the vibration. The everyday is really important for me because my North Node is in Taurus. South Node is in Scorpio. So a little bit of astrology. If your North Node is in Taurus, you meant to be in with the luxury. So I've got sheepskins here and some texture. This is what my North Node is meant to be. It's meant to be no stress, just relaxing, living out my life that way. Now, when you're talking about my incarnation into this body, it was anything but that before. But I think that was part of my journey, my hero's journey, that I had to go through that to understand what relaxation, calmness, and groundedness means. And that is my superpower of making people feel grounded, calm, and relaxed, bringing relaxation and grounding, and groundedness into a space. Now, opposite of a North Node in Taurus is a South Node in Scorpio. My Mars is in Scorpio. Don't cross me. Like Mars is in Scorpio is like, very depth, very psychological, very occultic. But it, if if the occult had a placement, it would be in Scorpio, right? That's what we relate it to. That's why Scorpio people are really good at counseling and being psychologists or being a lawyer. That's just one of many things that they're good at, but they're really good at getting to the point. And so it's a really precision um, thing to have in your chart. So when South Node is in Scorpio, so that was a past life. So I shouldn't be obsessive over the occult or overtly spiritual things. Well, look what I do, spiritual stuff, right? So how do I get to live in my North Node and live a life of peace? Well, it's through the sacred and which is in the mundane. So sacred acts in everyday situations. That is what I am meant to be embodying. And for me, there's nothing more that I detested was the ordinary, the day to day, the same thing all the time. Not realizing I had ADHD, and that is one of the problems of ADHD. We don't like, we like novelty. Um, but routine and the basics of life, the everyday things of life is what I need to be cultivating in this lifetime. So for me to make my life more bearable as an ADHD South Node person is to make sure I ritualize my life and I bring the sacred into my everyday life. So what does that look like for me? That means in the morning I get up, I massage my face with face oil. So I will explain about the supper club in a minute, but I just want to walk you into today's subject. So, I massage my face, I pray. Um, I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. I believe in God. I believe in He, She, God, whoever they are to me. Um, so, and I say my affirmation, my protection, because we need it in this time. And then I go into my garden, look out into my garden. It could be raining, it could be sunny, it could be snow. I look out into nature, and that is my basic. Put the kettle on, have a cup of tea. Try to look out in the garden with that tea in my hand, massage my face, smell my aromatherapy. Um, that is what I do. I like to make my food from scratch. Very rarely when I get a takeaway, I like to spend time in my kitchen that I love and just cultivate, make stuff. I grow my food in my garden or my herbs in my garden. So I'll select some herbs or maybe some tea. I'm growing chamomile now, which has been the best investment to get chamomile seeds because it doesn't taste chamomile what you buy in the supermarket. It's not the same. So, I might pick some lemon balm, some chamomile tea, some mint, and make a tea. Well, I use those ingredients in my cooking. All these are intentional and it just allows me to connect with nature while nurturing my body. I have a pantry, and for me, it's really important to have loads of bottles. So if I get pasta or quinoa or rice or any dried foods, I spend time decanting that out of plastic into my glass bottles, into my pantry. My teas are the same. I have herbal teas. Anybody comes to my home, they see the herbal teas in the jars. I make sure everything is intentional. So you're getting more presence, less advertising and different things, even though I do like a nice design of a box. Um, I'm always drying herbs at the door of the pantry, or I'd have a menu, what I'm going to plan. Um, and sometimes, which is a lot more often than I would like when it's summer, I find that my ADHD brain, the dopamine can be low in the day, in the morning. So I have to make sure I have protein in the morning to bring my dopamine up. So it can take me a long while to get ready, to organize myself for the day. I normally start my day at 11 o'clock, um, even though I'm up from 7, but I start my physical connection with people around 11. But for me, that is what my morning routine is. Not, it doesn't always look like that. When I find my dopamine's low and it takes me longer to get out of bed and into a rhythm, because I will work from my bed. If I'm doing a post, my inspiration comes in the morning. So I may be doing some posts for Canva or doing some copy for my website or my Instagram or my Substack. I might be doing those days, and then I'll go on the practical stuff of maybe working with clients, doing something in the studio, or working on research for maybe a public art project. So I'm a busy woman. Um, but there are lots of spaces in between. I find when I'm working now, because of the intensity, I don't like to have personal calls during the day anymore. I used to have them a lot more, but now because I cannot get back into the swing of things. And I think that's the ADHD really impacting me. So it's really hard for me to get back into the swing of things. And I found myself scrolling. So that is coming to an end because I'm not doing that either. Um, so that is my day. That's my sacred ordinary. I come home, I make something to eat. I try to make something that is nutritious that I enjoy. And it's a conversation between me, food, and what I want. Sometimes I may just emotionally eat. We're human, right? So, so the it's taken me long to get here. It's taken me long to get here. And if somebody comes round, they can have food with me. But I really ritualized the food. And I'll explain more about this as well. So we had our supper club, um, which was amazing. And I made all the menu myself because I wanted people to have farm to table, well, garden to table. Not all of it, because I don't have, salmon growing in my back garden, but I had wild salmon. I wanted it to be wild, not farmed. So I made a beautiful salmon and polenta dish with wild garlic and basil creme. Um, we had cacao, um, mocktails to start off to open a heart, because in between each course was a question. It was a solstice dinner. And then for obviously for dessert, I made homemade apple crumble as well. And again, that sacredness in cooking for me is really important. I'm not a chef, but I love the nourishment of food. It's actually in my human design, not my gene keys and my astrology, about nourishment. And this goes in with this sensuality of the Taurus North Node that I'm fighting to stay in. And so that was really beautiful. We had an amazing time. There was a face oil station. There was iced tea. Um, we did a meditation, and by the time we finished, the garden was full of candlelights. And for me, that beat doing anything else. I could have been out raving and dancing. I've done that. These moments are so important, and I only captured because of I needed it for social media to promote the next supper club, captured certain elements of it, but I didn't have the camera rolling because, again, it was ordinary moments, but they were sacred. And it was just amazing, just such a beautiful space. And so the next one is the harvest. And again, we're working with what's in nature. I don't know, I'm thinking about an Italian menu. I don't know, but I'm working with the harvest, which is going to be the apples off my neighbour's apple tree, that are going to be coming. They're nearly ready because of the hot weather. So I'll be able to make some more apple. I don't know if I'm going to make apple crumble though. I think I might make apple pie. Um, and maybe some other seasonal fruits as well. But it would be really nice about, gathering regarding what are the gifts we want to harvest. And I've been telling you guys from on social media and my newsletter about using this time to build your goals most of the time on social media, because we're fast approaching the harvest. We're going back into inflection soon. So, and introspection. So, use these next 2 months to really move forward, to meet your goals and to get your when I mean goals, I mean whatever they may be. It's not about rushing, but this energy, this is where we use the seasons to pull our intensity, our energy forward, while the energy is quite fast, rather than use our own natural energy. Okay. So yes, so I'm gonna put in the show notes the next information of the next supper club. It'll be I'm kind of putting it out there, but I'm being very mindful of who comes to the space, because it's going to be only 5 or 6 women. Going to be a really small space. I'm not offering big spaces with the supper, the gathering. More so with the return 6-week course, I have got more space for that, and that will be a similar energy, but not exactly the same. Okay, so this is what I spoke about in terms of um the sacredness of life, um, and how we can use that and make the sacred become the mundane or the ordinary. Um, so we tend to look at life. So sometimes I will post certain things on Instagram, but what I realize is there's a confusion with the soul of, why do you need to document this? Why can't you just live this? So, like when I go in my garden and I'm sitting there with my cup of tea and the sun's come out and the cat's rolling on its back, and I need to capture these. And there's a voice that says to me, why do you need to capture this? Because what has happened with us, our sacred ordinary has now become a performance. It now has become something to be seen. And it's because of the culture we live in. So we're in this hustle culture, posting for social media, not for just for it being a sacred ordinary just because it is. Um, it's it's got to be commodified. It's got to be shown, like I see so much beautiful pages I follow on Instagram where the people are saying, I'm having a dinner party and they're laying a table and then it becomes an ad. Yes, we have to get paid. And I'm sorry if John Lewis said, look, we're going to give you a whole plateware um, to be able to do an ad. I'll be happy to do that. I don't mind. You get something nice and free. But what happens is that it becomes very performative. And what no longer becomes, okay, let's just take a picture, becomes a whole, they design a whole, one designs all content around everyday living. And so what used to be ordered becomes really perfect. So there's no videos of us wiping the plate with the gravy being spilt on it, or, fixing our hair because it doesn't look as good in a video, or, the table set to fall in and the wine glasses dropping and smashing. Like, it's becomes very much like it's become very perfect. And we confuse visibility with meaning. And that's what we're watching. We're watching these things and we're like, okay, this is perfect. This person tablescape is amazing. This is what I need to aspire to. So when I take my pictures, it's got to be perfect. But what gets missed out is the fact that why don't we just have a talk, break bread, and just enjoy it? Um, we live in a culture of optimization. So everything is optimized, optimizes your brain, optimize your energy so you can perform better. But what the sacred ordinary asks us to do is just to be still. It's just to be in the moment and not look at life through the lens of a phone, something we hold in our hand. Let's look at it from the feeling of our heart instead. Not everything we have has got to be documented. And if it has to be, let it be 25% of what we actually do. So when I'm in my garden and I'm looking at chamomile flowers and I'm picking cow to put it in a bunch, and I'm like, oh, this will make a nice picture. I have to literally take a breath and think, this is my relationship to this plant. Let me honor it. And so I'm really learning now what's happening is me going into the garden does not require me to take a picture anymore. I'm becoming more integrated with that lifestyle. I just need more flowers and vegetables. Um, but yeah, it's really, really important that we lean into our experiences. But I think is happening. I think that we are not having experiences with other people anymore. So we all need to be witnessed. So when we have people round or friends round, regardless of the size of our house, like my place is a small place. But luckily I've got lots of rooms and a nice sized garden. But my house has always been a house where I'd have circles, I'd have dinner parties, everybody would gather around my house. Like all my friends actually, they only had their families round, but they didn't really have a girls' night. It would always be my place. And I didn't realize that until the other day. That I was always cooking, running circles, having people round, and people felt just calm in my home. And my house is not the biggest house. Yet I've been to places with people, nice size homes, excuse me. And it's just has no life. Everything is there, but it doesn't have as much life and meaning because it's the ordinary moments that are so important and a space where people can feel comforted. It doesn't have to be a show home or the right home where you have to worry about what's going to happen. This is why my garden parties are the best because it's in the garden. I'm not worried about my turquoise sofa so much. When I come down here and we've got the projector and we're watching movies, it's not a big problem because it's the chill out space. Um, However, most moments that happen down here is not documented because I don't want it to be. I want to be in a moment. And this is what I'm saying to everybody is that where in your life have you not had people around your house? When was the last time people came around your house for dinner? Not just one or two people, but a group of friends. And if you say, well, I haven't got much people, maybe that's something to look at. Where your relationships, because also we've got into this energy, I need to protect my space. Yes, you do, but if you cultivate, you become the right person, you bring the right people to your space. It doesn't have to be a lot of people. The right people will come into your space and they will stay there. The wrong people will stay out. And you don't have to invite everybody. If they don't feel right, then don't invite them. Don't invite them. But what I will say is there may be somebody you may want to invite. Or there may be someone that comes to your house already. How are you making space so they can witness you in your ordinary, not your performative space? And I think that's what's happening in relationships now, especially when they're formed via social media. They're becoming transactional. And this is why it's really important you form relationships and friendships where you've not met just through social media or your time together is about performing for social media. It really makes my skin crawl sometimes when I meet up with people and the first thing they do is say, "Oh, let's take a picture." So they're just filling their quota for social media. They're not saying, how are you? What have you been doing? What have you been up to? It's all very performative, how they must look on social media. It's so, so, so sad because they're losing the sacred ordinary, the moment of interaction where I'm meeting you as a human being and we're just connecting. Not, hello, let me take a picture so I've got a record of it. How about we just move into this space in an organic way? So that's what I'm asking. That's one thing I'm asking you to do is to start inviting people to your home, start going to people's homes, start having moments where you're not performing. Start having everyday moments because what will happen is we'll start to live a life that is for a camera. Oh, we'll just be on a Zoom call. We won't meet up with people in person. The reason why we're becoming more tired is because we're spending too much time on a computer or the phone. I'm recording from my phone, right? Camera's good. But this is the reason because we are constantly in a flickering screen, blue light. We're getting more tired. The more we spend in connection, we're not going to feel so tired. So get yourself up and start making with your group of friends, start rotating going around people's homes. Maybe some people don't have the space or they've got a lot of people around. Make somebody come in the morning. Come for tea. If you've got a balcony, if you haven't got a garden, that's fine. But if you've got a space, put everybody on the floor on cushions and just have a cup of tea together, but create something which is really lovely. It doesn't have to be this amazing big space with this long table, you know, which I love a long table, but just do that. Just do it. Just really do it. I think what we have to realize with the Sacred Ordinary campaign, or people being in the home and performing or making sure the home is perfect for Instagram or you, it's just the fact that we are seeing it more with everyday quote unquote people. We're just seeing ads created by quote unquote ordinary people. And so what we are doing, because we're looking at it from a phone as opposed to a television, have different functions to what a television is. Phone, and I know it could be in your bed, it could be in your kitchen. You're on the phone, you're taking that person with you. Unless you're watching your telly on your phone, soaps in the bath. They say that they watch it on their iPad, but they still see it as a program. It's been done before. It's just because it's more familiar. There's a familiarity there. And so again, I want you to think about you're seeing this, you're scrolling, so you're hypnotizing yourself every day with the scrolling. And I want you to think about what you're looking at, what posts you're saving, and how does your life compare to this? So when I say compare, not the fact that they may have a big house and a glass patio, and then you don't have that, or a nice car or the lovely clothes. How does your life compare? So those moments where you may see an influencer or what quote unquote trad wife folding some beautiful linen or and beautiful bed sheets or a lovely comforter or blanket. What are your ordinary moments? So is it when you are folding your own clothes and you can smell the fabric softener and the sun is streaming through your window and you just feel so accomplished? Like, do you notice those moments? Or in the morning when all the kids are sleeping and everybody's sleeping and you can sit outside in your garden or on your balcony or looking through your kitchen window and just looking at the world and you just feel at peace because the world is silent. Like, what are your sacred ordinary moments? Share them in the comments underneath this podcast. Like, what are your ordinary moments? What are they? What else have I got here? When the second question is, when do you stop performing? So a lot of the times we go out to restaurants, we have food, we take a picture so we can show, um, or we might be with people, family, and then we're filming it. Um, or it could be at work. You're just doing everything at work. Your sacred ordinary moment could be lunchtime when you are just sitting there and listening to a podcast and you're doodling at your desk for half an hour, because these days people only have half an hour lunch. It's atrocious. Um, Pardon me. So when do you stop performing? Is your ordinary moments performative? I had that when I was just taking pictures of me doing these things every morning. At the beginning of spring, I was really organizing myself, fixing myself so I could go on the internet and look good and blah, blah, blah. And then afterwards, I realized I just want to be present. And if I'm going to take a picture, I'll put a filter on or not put a filter on and just explain. But then I just stopped doing it as much because I just wanted to enjoy. So when do you stop performing? Is it at 9 to 5 when you're at work, or is it you're yourself at work and then when you're out, do you start performing because you're going to be posting online? Um, the other question is, when in your week do you feel peaceful? Now I mentioned about the morning time. That for me, that's the most peaceful time ever, ever, ever. Um, and the last question is a really good one. I really like that one. Is what have you been overlooking enough? What have you been overlooking actually because it isn't impressing enough to post online? So maybe in your business, maybe you've got a hobby that you love, and you're not posting it online because it's not impressive. Like, you don't feel like you're the perfect weight. Your home doesn't feel like it's good enough. It's not decorated enough. Your garden is not perfect. Um, I don't know. Your hair isn't done the way you want it to be done. Um, I really don't know. But what is it you're overlooking because it's not perfect? So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about what are the simple things. I know a lot of my clients would say for them the simple thing would be drinking tea in the morning, but having a beautiful cup of tea in a nice china cup. I've got soursop in this cup. But another person would be their morning walk. Another person would be their evening walk. Another person would be playing with their pets or their babies. Um, Another would be having a glass of wine in the evening. So what is it? What is your sacred moment? And if you don't have much of a moment, how can you bring this into your everyday? So for one person, it could look like when they're gardening in the morning or watering their plants. Another person could be watering their plants, buying a lava lamp. A lava lamp? I didn't mean to say a lava lamp. That is so funny. I'm so going back in time. So funny. I'm taking the flower remedy, and it's about not looking back. So maybe all these it's releasing. I met a salt lamp. So lots of plants of salt lamp. Maybe it's when you do your exercise and then you finish and you stretch and you have those moments of peace. Another time it could be cycling to work. You're just in the zone, or driving to work, or on the train at work, and you're just listening to your podcasts. And that's your power hour. What is your sacred ordinary? Come to the end, and let me know how you found this podcast. I got really amazing feedback from couple of you from last week. So I'm enjoying doing these podcasts because they're intentional. They're not trying to hit a goal or all the other stuff. It's just they're part of my business, obviously, but it's intentional. And forgot to say, if you are in the East London area, I have an open studio this week, 4th of July. So if you are around and want to buy some art, just drop me a line and just you can turn up and see what's on offer. And lastly, doors are open for the return. So registration's open. For the next 2 weeks, we start on the 15th of July. And what I'm thinking of doing, so this cohort, I don't want more than 5 or 6 women, but it's a 6-week container. But what will be happening is I'm not going to close registration. So if people want to join after the 15th, they can still join. They will just be going through the different modules or different classes. So, for example, we've got 6 classes, 6 live classes. So if you join, like when we're a week free, you would join the classes for you would not join from the beginning. You will kind of join the classes where they are to kind of be in that energy, and then afterwards you will be able to join that. There's another cohort coming in, then you'll all sort of like join. You'll all sort of like catch up together, so to speak. So if people keep joining, you'll always be at a point where you'll be doing this whole 6 weeks, but they won't be in order. So it's almost as if every single I'm doing it in like sequential order to start off. So it's like it's a running, like a relay, you're running sequential order at the beginning, but you always will, wherever you start is where you start, and then you'll have time to go back and do the other module. So it's not a catch up, it's just um they can be taken at any time because they all relate. There's not doing one at the beginning will not negate the other. The energy of the other, they'll all work in tandem. They'll all work together. So that's the beauty of this. That way I'm not having to just close down and launch, close down. That way people can just come in. So there'll always be like 6 women or very low numbers. It might be more, but I don't think I would want for the first cohort, it's got to be 6. And then afterwards it can increase, which it naturally does anyway. That normally happens with these programs because they're very intentional. So the return is a space, a 6-week container, a space for you just to be calm. So if you're going through, redundancy, you've left one job, you're looking at changing your career, you're an empty nester, you've gone through menopause and you're rediscovering yourself, you've gone into a new career, you might have gone back to college, you may have become a grandparent, well, any of those things, you may have not become a parent and you're coming to terms with not having children and you're at peace with that, or you might not be, but you want a space to kind of land that is not performative. It's not a coaching model, it's just a space where we meet once a week, 90 minutes, and we have different topics each week, and you process those topics, or you don't process, or you just take learning from it. This is the space for you. So it's a return to yourself. If we removed all the stuff that brings us anxiety or makes us feel less than, if we just allow a third space to happen, then we thrive. So I want to kindly invite you to the space. And if you're curious, there's a link below below this podcast, or you can contact me directly and we can have a call and a discussion about to expect during the time with me. Okay, I hope this records and the sound is much better. Until then, I will see you at the next episode. Bye for now.